The International Institute for Democracy and Electoral Assistance has for a very long time been rating democracies and trying to give us an idea of the state of democracy and authoritarian countries around the globe. Well, excitingly, for the first time, they've added the United States to their list of backsliding democracies. They pointed to a visible deterioration that the group said had begun in 2019. Now, they still classify us as a democracy, so that's cool. They say we're a high-performing democracy, and we even improved our performance in indicators of impartial administration on things like corruption and predictable enforcement back in 2020. However, declines in civil liberties and checks on government indicate there are serious problems with the fundamentals of democracy. They say there was a historic turning point back in 2020 to 2021 when Trump questioned the legitimacy of the 2020 election. But beyond that, there was a decline in the quality of freedom of association and assembly during the summer of protests in 2020 after the police killing of George Floyd. They say the visible deterioration of democracy in the United States as seen in the increasing tendency to contest credible election results, and we've seen that in multiple elections since 2020. The efforts to suppress participation in elections and the runaway polarization is one of the most concerning developments. So, hey, America's changing. How exciting, Nina.
Yeah, for the worse. I mean, the points that they're making about especially on the voting, voter access or voting access is right on the money. We know that Republican-controlled legislatures all across this country are making it harder for people to actually exercise their right to vote. And when you couple that with the fact that government has been failing the people in this country, especially on the federal level of government, the whole notion of those two, the confluence of those two things together is definitely ripe for what you and I and so many others believe is going to happen during the 2022 midterms, much to our chagrin.
Yeah. And we've seen this obviously throughout the year in terms of the voter suppression bills and all that. Multiple states have legalized, like, hey, if protesters are on the road, you can run them down. You can just kill them.
Yes.
Like, it's just inconvenient to have those protesters there. I mean, if it's ever right-wing protest, try to exercise that. But no, don't. But then also, we're now in the process of gerrymandering. So Georgia, a state that Biden won, narrowly, but won, indicating that it's shifting blue. It's more than 50% its vote went for the Democrats. In their new map, more than 80% of the seats are gonna go to Republicans. So years of demographic change, as well as the great work of organizations in registering people to vote, getting them excited and interested in politics and all that, changing the fundamentals of politics in Georgia that resulted in 2 Senate seats in 1 year going for the Democrats. That was a fun experience, and now that's done because they've locked in automatic Republican seats to dominate that state delegation. Has nothing to do with platforms or policy or anything like that. They've just given themselves those seats. So they don't even need to steal those elections when an actual election comes. It's virtually impossible that the craziest conspiracy theory loving QAnoner that they put up for election is almost certainly gonna win. Like, it doesn't matter what people think in that area, Nina.
No,
and this is how you backslide as a democracy. One state at a time, one bill at a time.
I mean, he or she who controls the pen controls. I would just add to that report that really this started happening in 2010. There was a big backlash, linked to the election of the first African-American president. Republican-controlled legislatures lost their minds. We were at a census point again in 2010. Lines being redrawn in 2011 impacted the 2012 election cycle. I was in the Ohio legislature at the time, remember it like it was yesterday. As a matter of fact, I voted against those maps for these reasons. And now we have a repeat. And John, some of this is at the feet. I mean, they don't have to gerrymander and both parties do it, but it is the worst by far under the type of technology that we have. Yeah. And let me think, did Democrats not know that 2022 was on the way? I mean, we cannot continue to just focus on the presidency and the Congress and not give a damn about who is running for state legislatures and putting the requisite investment on state level. Secretaries of state and who is running for state legislatures, so we don't find ourselves again 10 years from now having the same conversation. Because the Republicans have been very clear about what their mission and their assignments are, and they are executing their mission with laser precision. But on the other side of that, Democrats are not doing the same.
Yeah, and by the way, you're totally right to point out that the Democrats gerrymander as well. We've pointed that out in multiple things. Whenever I tweet about gerrymandering, some Republican will be like, "Yeah, Democrats do it too." And I always wonder, so what do you know that I want to stop gerrymandering?
Right.
Do you not get that would stop the Democrats from doing it? You seem to be agreeing with me, but you're really aggressive about it. Yeah, let's end it. And that, by the way, is where I'm gonna end my commentary, at least. The Republicans are doing this, and they're doing it worse. They're doing it with more obvious partisan intent as well as racial animus. But they're gonna do that. I'm not gonna ask them to stop and expect that that's gonna work. They're gonna do it as much as they can. The Democrats could stop it. They're not. So at the end of the day, is it the Republicans' fault? Yeah, kind of. But if the Republicans were doing it and the Democrats could stop it and choose not to, I'm gonna be pretty mad about them. They're not even willing. I get the people that are benefiting from manipulating the system are gonna keep doing it. Why are the people who are being hurt by the manipulation of the system allowing them to continue? I think we should be more angry at them.
There it is.
Get rid of the filibuster. They're not going to.
Get rid of it.
They're just gonna allow it. They're just gonna allow it.
Get rid of it. Stop playing. Oh my Lord. Yeah, John, this is a day.
Check out the Damage Report podcast each day, wherever you get your podcasts, whether Pocket Casts or Stitcher or iTunes. You can join me as I give you the news and stories you want, with a range of co-hosts and interview guests jumping in on the fun each day. Again, that's the Damage Report, wherever you get your podcasts. And if you get them at iTunes, don't forget to rate and review. Sometimes I'll read them live on the show.